Well, good morning, everybody. You feeling good? All right, welcome to Mile High Church. We don't want to put any extra pressure on you, but we are filming this and broadcasting it all over the world. Okay, so we expect you to be on your best behavior. Band's going to start out rocking. Are you ready to go? Bring it on.
Chavez on the guitar.
Well done. What a great way to start our service off. Thank you very much to our Mile High Band. Good morning. I am the announcement girl. And Dr. Barry usually is doing the announcements these days, and he always brings a baseball fact, and I have brought one too. But it's a girl baseball fact. There's a 13-year-old girl who made the record for softball, throwing the ball the fastest of anybody on the planet last September. What miles per hour do you think she threw that ball? 83 miles. 83 miles per hour. Her name is Rain Padgham. Rain Padgham, 13-year-old girl with long pink hair. Go Rain. Yeah. Oh, there's some other cool things going on. Let's talk about that, shall we? Today at 11:30, I'm doing a workshop over in the community center called the Discipline of Spiritual Practice. Spiritual practice is our initiative this year. If you are challenged figuring out how to fit spiritual practice into your life, you may be thinking, I've got to be more disciplined. But my workshop says you've got to be more you. And so if you'd like to figure out how to fit it in a way that works for you, come join us for this love offering workshop, 11:30 to 1, and I will see you there. And we are happy to remind everyone of the wonderful care we love to take of our congregation. Our prayer and care center is very active on Sundays and throughout the week, and out in the lobby along the counters near the windows, you can put in a prayer request, and our practitioner prayer partners will pray over your prayer request for 7 days straight. So please feel free to make a prayer request. Our Prayer and Care Center also supports people who are going through grief challenges, and so there's lots of classes and workshops available. And right now, coming up, starting March 6th, an 8-week workshop, an 8-week class, Beyond Divorce. If you're going through a divorce or you've been through one and you want to resolve issues around it, please sign up for this class. It's a wonderful class that our Prayer and Care Center offers. And later on this month, starting on March 14th, we've got a Celtic spirituality workshop led by Reverend Zamira. It's a 4-week workshop, starts March 14th. You get extra points if you dress Celtic when you come to the workshop. It's going to be great. And the whole reason that I am here doing the announcements today is because I'm happy to let you know that our music today is being provided for by Reverend Dr. Barry Ebert. Please welcome him.
Thank you, announcement girl. I woke up this morning singing, God is so good. I woke up this morning singing, God is so good. Yeah, I woke up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Take a time. When I come to my high, I say, God is so good. When I come to my high, I say, God is so good. When I come to my high, I say, God is so good. My God is so good to me. When I need a helping hand, God is so good. Yeah. When I need a helping hand, God is so good. When I need a helping hand, God is so good. My God is so good to me. When I let my spirit guide me, God is so good. When I let my spirit guide me, God is so good. When I let my spirit guide me, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Oh, I woke up this morning singing, God is so good. I woke up this morning singing, God is so good. You know, I woke up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Yeah. My God is so good to me. One more time. Don't you know my God is so good to me?
Barry Ebert, Mile High All-Stars. Thank you, Randy, Bijou, Mike, Rob, and our music director, Tom Litch, everybody. Created a wonderful musical buffet for us that we will be rolling out song by song this morning. Good to see you, everyone. Wonderful to be here. So good to see your faces. If you're new to Mile High Church, we welcome you here. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, tells a story about a man who's incredibly thirsty. And he finally gets his glass of water, and then he continues to complain about how thirsty he was. Does anyone know anyone like that? You know, it speaks to an important tenet of our teaching, that we're not just about seeking fulfillment, but we're about embodying and maintaining fulfillment. We're not about looking for happiness, we're about choosing happiness and cultivating it and growing it. We are a congregation of whole people committed to living whole lives, and we welcome you here. We love to recite our vision and mission each week. It's coming up on the screens, and we can all read it together. It goes like this: our vision, oneness revealed, a world of love, peace, and abundance for all. And our mission, to serve as a spiritual beacon for personal empowerment and global enlightenment. So with that, let us take a collective communal breath to that place of inner fulfillment, that place of inner happiness, committing as we move into this time of song, of quiet, and of prayer, to allowing that fulfillment and happiness to reach into every aspect of our being and our lives.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
How wonderful it is to simply be in this stillness and this silence, remembering that there is a divine presence that exists at our very center. It is our center and our circumference. And there is a creative intelligence that moves in, through, and around us in every moment. So this morning, we simply take a moment to remember that we are in God, that we are with God, but most importantly, that we are of God. And we celebrate that unique expression of the divine that each and every one of us is. And it's that kaleidoscope of uniqueness that creates this amazing, beautiful community we call Mile High Church. And as we embody all those qualities of the divine, we know that the most important love exists at the very core of our being. So this morning, we simply allow that love to be expressed within our community, to be expressed within our world, to be expressed on this planet, knowing that that is the source of peace. And so I just give thanks this morning for this music and this message that uplifts us, that takes us into the week enriched and enlivened. So grateful for Mile High and this amazing community. And I know that as I release these words and this truth into that beautiful alchemy of love and law, that all is well, because all is God, and so it is.
Will you stand in the fire with me and help me hold my ground. And if my courage fails and I start to run, turn me back around. Will you stand in the fire with me and open your heart with mine? I've never been down in such darkness before. It feels bigger than me this time. And I'm not asking you for answers to all of these questions or words to ease my mind. I just need somebody to listen sometimes. I will pay you back in kind. Will you stand in the fire with me? Tell me if you hear a sound after I call out to God for some kind of sign. Won't you show me that you're still around? Will you stand in the fire with me and tell me that it's true, that there's a sunrise out there somewhere where I'm gonna smile, that there's hope for folks like me and you. And I'm not asking you for answers to all of these questions or words to ease my mind. I just need somebody to listen sometimes. I will pay you back in kind. Will you stand in the fire with me?
Our words of inspiration today from Howard Thurman. Whatever may be the tensions and the stresses of a particular day, there is always lurking close at hand the trailing beauty of forgotten joy and unremembered peace. And from our founder, Ernest Holmes. Stop trying. Stop struggling. Begin to be calm, to trust in the higher laws of life. Even though you do not see them, they are still there.
Well, guess what? I have a surprise for you all. There is a young woman named Lokana who is coming out right now. Lokana is going to be singing with us this morning.
Yes, I am.
Lokana was a member of the youth choir about 10, 11 years ago. I think we have a photo up there. Yep. This is Lokana
Do we still look alike?
singing a solo back then. You had a beautiful voice back then, but guess what? Lokana is now a signed recording artist whose job it is to spread music and love for music all around the world. Lokana's on Spotify, on iTunes. Lokana won't be selling any product at all today, but Lokana has her product all over the place. So please help me welcome warmly Lokana.
Thank you, Mile High. Good to be here. You call me out upon the water, the great unknown, where fear may fail. And there I found you in the mystery, in oceans deep. My faith Thank you, Mile High. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakana. What a wonderful gift to have you here with us today. Absolutely. Thank you, Tom and our band. Good morning again, everyone. Welcome to everyone watching online. Just a reminder for those who are here in the sanctuary, we have this beautiful Vote Chapel next door, and we're doing meditation there every Sunday from 9:30 to 9:50, facilitated by one of our practitioners, but it's open all Sunday morning. So especially when something heavy happens during the week, it's just a great extra layer to put on your spiritual connection time to just be in that beautiful space. So question for you all this morning, how are you? Good. Online, just tell the screen I'm listening. No. And I invite you to answer that question, not just from the state of your current affairs, but also I invite you to ask yourself how you generally answer that question. So there's lots of different categories of it. There's kind of the melancholy neutral of fine, okay, so, all right. You know, these are normally really humble people who somehow get how are you out even before they finish answering, right? And then there are the incredibly positive people. How are you today? Wonderful. Fantastic. Perfect. Really? Perfect? Couldn't be better. Incredibly annoying to the melancholy neutral people. I particularly like this answer when it's really sincere and from the heart. I have a mentor and friend, Charlie McClung, who when I was about 18 years old, got me in the habit of when anyone asked me, how am I always answered better and better for about 6 years. How are you? Better and better. And it was really cool because it opened up this ability to see that life can be more and more, that it can get better and better. And so I loved practicing that for many years. And then it became a little like shtick. You know, friends would make bets. I'll give you $5 if you can get them to answer something differently than better and better. And I remember I was talking with my friend Bruce Snow, and he said, how are you? And I said, better and better. How are you? And he said, better than you are. And then I knew it was time to retire it for a while. Yeah, to practice this spiritual practice of being authentic. You know, because the truth is, I'm a very complicated person. How about you? I've got many layers. When you ask me, how am I want to answer, well, which me are you referring to? This could come off a little weird, right? But, I can contain many feelings at a time. I'm frustrated and joyful. I'm whole, perfect, and ticked off. I'm okay, not okay. You ever been in that place? I'm okay, not okay. Walt Whitman said it best. He said, so I contradict myself. I contain multitudes. Good response next time someone calls you on your stuff. In New Thought, we're very positive people. William James in the 19th century wrote The Varieties of Religious Experience. And in it, he refers to our blossoming faith as the religion of healthy mindedness. He calls us the healthy minds. And we do have this way. We can take any challenging word or condition and turn it into a positive phrase. I'm not sick. I'm going through a process of healing. My hamster didn't die. He's making his transition. Everything is just wonderful. I just don't know it yet. And I love this practice of using positive words. It's very important because it helps us get out of the negative thinking track and helps us to identify what we want to experience. So it's very powerful. However, if you're not careful, it can become kind of a shield against what really is going on in your life. It can become a kind of spiritual bypass, as we call it, from facing the challenges that may be before us. In our philosophy as well, we pretty much invented phrases like, it's all good, and all is well, or everything is in divine right order. And we say those things because it speaks to our core spiritual belief. The core spiritual belief of our teaching is that there is a divine spiritual perfection in, through, and around everything, always. And when we bring consciousness and awareness to this fact of the divine perfection that runs through everything, it begins to cultivate and take root in our lives, resulting in a kind of harmony where we then experience ourselves as weaving this awareness of the divine perfection in and throughout our relationships, our work, our communities, our world. It's what we believe in. It becomes almost like a dance, even in the midst of challenges in our lives. We dance with this sacredness. We call it forth even when we experience its absence. Several weeks ago, someone asked me over text how I was doing, and I replied, "All is well, kinda." All is well, kinda. And I looked at it and I felt pretty silly at first. But then I got to thinking about it, and it really was true for me. Because in my life, I can maintain an awareness that there is a divine spiritual perfection back of every situation, available in every person, available in me. I can maintain that awareness and be hurting, and be scared about how something's going to work out, and be conflicted and challenged. I can contain those multitudes. And when we look at the world today and we see the struggles, there is no greater realization that is needed in the world than that all is well. And yet, if we want to be a relevant spiritual teaching in our lives and for the world, we have to recognize that all is well isn't the right reaction to everything. We have to understand its purpose. We can't say 40-some thousand people have died in an earthquake, all is well. We can't say all is well when we see, oh no, another video of a black man being murdered by someone in authority. No. We can't look at the Ukraine or look at a 6-year-old bringing a gun to school and shooting their teacher and say all is well. It's the right overall response, but it's not the right reaction. The right reaction is sorrow or outrage, or just that quiet mourning and grief, in order to bring forth a consciousness of hope, a consciousness of solution, a consciousness of healing into our lives. We sometimes first have to acknowledge the hurt and the pain. If not, this idea that all is well lacks relevance. It becomes a form of denial. And so it is our calling as spiritual practitioners not to turn away from the negative conditions of the world, but to turn into them with a faith and a knowledge of what can be better, of what can heal, of who we are really and truly meant to be. And it takes some important understandings. This first one sounds simplistic, but it's hard for us who've been in this teaching for a long time. It's the simple recognition that there are terrible things that happen in the world. We live in this sacred, beautiful expression called Earth, and yet there are bad things that are happening all the time. And again, it's not the right response to say all is well. It's the right response to bring a consciousness of wholeness, a consciousness of willingness for healing to take place, to have those come forth. One of the best things I think we human beings have done in this last decade is we sent Captain Kirk to outer space. Right, William Shatner, 90 years old, went on the Jeff Bezos spaceship and went to outer space. How cool is that? Human beings did that. We love you, Captain Kirk. Tells you something else about our spirituality here. But when he returned to ground, he didn't return elated or joyful or even mesmerized. He shares that he returned with an immense sadness. An immense sadness. He shared, I was crying. I didn't know what I was crying about. I had to go off someplace and sit down and think, what's the matter with me? And I realized I was in grief. It was the death that I saw in space and the life force that I saw coming from the planet, the blue, the beige, and the white. And I realized one was death and the other was life. I saw more clearly than I ever have, with all the studying and reading I've done, the writhing, slow death of earth, and we on it. It's a little tiny rock with an onion skin air around it. That's how fragile it all is. It's so fragile, we hang by a thread. We're just dangling. Oh. I was tempted to do it in Captain Kirk voice, but I think it would take that kind of gut punch effect. See, sometimes to approach great grief or sadness or something that's wrong, we have to also behold the beauty, the dignity, the humanity in what we hold, and know that that is the real and meant to be thing. But we can't heal if we don't acknowledge. As a religious scientist, I don't believe in evil as a thing in itself, but I sure the hell can see it in expression out there in the world. And for us, we don't believe that evil comes from some dark lord. We believe it is the result of ignorance. It is ignorance to the grace of God, ignorance to the truth of who we are when we mistreat one another, ignorance to our own divine being when we reject ourselves, ignorance of that all is wellness, that hope, and that divine spark available for all humanity when we act out of place to it. And I would argue today that it is ignorance when we don't confront violence, racism, sexism, whatever ism you want to share or identify. It is ignorance when we don't bring a remembrance of the truth, a remembrance of who we're meant to be, of how things should be based upon the divine potential that has been innate and planted in each one of us to bring forth. I also think it's important to point out that in our teaching, we don't necessarily believe in a divine presence that's pulling the strings, that's making this happen or this not happen. We believe in a divine sacred presence that is enabled, that has endowed each of us with the potential to bring forth the sacred and love and light and well-being and healing and harmony in all that we do, but it's up to us. God made the world, but we make it the way it is through our choices, and we experience the consequences, positive or negative, of what those are. And sometimes I'll be working with someone and they'll say, Josh, how could God let this happen? Oh, I get it. How do you see God in this situation? And my first, maybe not the most empathetic response is, I don't believe in a God that lets things like that happen. I think we do those things. And yes, when I look at that situation, I don't see God in that at all. But that doesn't mean that I don't see God in the response. When we see something tragic happen in a community and we see the community come together to create a sense of healing and love and restoration. I don't see God in the event, but I can see it in the response. You know, Ernest Holmes, our founder, he was fond of using the metaphor for God or the creative medium of electricity. And he would share that he'd be talking with an electrician, and an electrician would say, seriously, it doesn't exist until you turn the switch on. It's not there until you turn the switch on. And it's a good analogy for seeing God in our lives and in the world. It's not that God is absent, but it sometimes requires turning on our consciousness and our awareness to see that divinity. It is then that we see part of our human role, part of the human sacrament, is that through our awareness of that divine perfection, we bring it forth. We make it real, and we can help heal our relationships and restore Mother Earth and live in greater unity and harmony with one another by being aware of this divine perfection, this divine truth. We see it when it plays out, and when we don't see it, it so offends our soul that we are called forth to confront those situations with a divine awareness and a greater amount of heart. Two things that I think can really keep us from realizing the truth of all is well and to applying it to our everyday lives. The first is conflict, and the second is comfort. Conflict and comfort can keep us blind to the truth that all is well and integrating it into our lives. Conflict, because so many of us, when we get into challenges and we get into problem, we identify so much with the problem that we forget all about solution. I am so caught up in my righteousness about being right in this argument and being mad at you that I won't even begin to think about reconciliation. We see this in the world as well when we're so good, we're getting so good at identifying problems, which is so important, but we sometimes miss out on the solutions. Dr. Sean Ginwright has written a powerful book called The 4 Pivots, Reimagining Justice, Reimagining Ourselves. And one of his 4 pivots is about the importance of moving from a place of problem to a place of solution. And he points out that unintentionally, so many of us, we fall in love with the problem. He says the problem with problem loving is that we become satisfied with discussing the problem and uncomfortable with imagining solutions. And he humbly tells the story of himself. He's a sociologist and a teacher, and he's working with a group of principals trying to share and educate them about the disparities that are facing black youth in schools. And he shares that he put them in their breakout rooms. He showed all the PowerPoints, all the evidence laid out on the table and got them together. And there's a principal that comes back and says, "Can you provide us with some solutions to these racial disparities in academic outcomes?" And Ginwright shares, "The question puzzled me because my assumption was that once they understood how significant the racial disparities were in their schools, the principals and teachers would come up with solutions on their own. I was wrong." And he goes on to say something really powerful. The most important aspect of social change, and I would add personal change, is not problem analysis, power building, narrative change, or coalition building. It's healing. Ram Dass tells us that healing isn't curing, it's what brings us closer to God. And in our own experience, in our own lives, that's how so many of us experience restoration, by getting back to the truth of who we're meant to be. Getting back to the truth of the sacred within all of life. It can be messy work getting there, but each of us has that ability to remember and acknowledge our spiritual truth and to make sure we speak it in our relationships, in our work, back at the world that is sometimes screaming at us for help, to know and remember the truth without any illusions of the challenges that may be there. So be willing to move from conflict to calling. That calling to bring a more profound and deep awareness, a willingness to heal and rebuild trust in our lives. But also, don't fall victim to comfort. I love being comfortable, don't you? I love being warm and snuggy, happy, well-fed. I could just stay that way forever. But I don't, because of calling. And when we get too comfortable, we can get into that habit of wanting to not look at problems in our lives or in our world. We become complacent, and comfort, if you're not careful, can become apathy. And so we're charged in our life to continue to choose our calling. My favorite example of this is the great civil rights leader Clarence B. Jones, who was becoming a successful attorney in California. He graduated law school and he got a house, and it was during the same time of the Montgomery bus boycott, Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks and all of that in Alabama. And Jones gets a call, his wife actually gets the call that King is going to be in town and he wants to meet with Jones. And so they arrange this meeting at Jones's home. They sit down and King shares with him, "I need young black professionals to come and help me in this work." And Jones considers it, and he answers no. California, Alabama, lots of money, maybe no money at all. I resonate and get why he said no. And King shakes his hand and he leaves and he shares what happened with his wife, Jones does, and she's furious with him. You said no to Martin Luther King Jr. And there's a phone call the next day, and it's King's assistant, and King's assistant says, Dr. King forgot to invite you to a sermon he's giving at a local church tomorrow morning. And so the wife hangs up the phone, and she says to Clarence, you may not be going to Montgomery, Alabama, but you are going to that church service tomorrow morning. And they come in, and there's seats reserved for them right there in the front row, and King gets up, and he says, the text of today's sermon is the role of the Negro professional in uplifting those less fortunate brothers and sisters in the South. And Jones shares being in awe of King and being touched in his heart by the power of his message and feeling the weight and the breadth of his calling. And at the end of the service in the receiving line, he went up to Dr. King. He said, when are we leaving for Montgomery, Alabama? And Jones would be the central writer of the I Have a Dream speech given on the National Mall. A speech that perhaps more than any other speech or moment in American history touched and transformed and evolved somewhat the consciousness of our country. Comfort or calling? Comfort or calling? Comfort sometimes feels like it's going to be consistent for us. Calling, it's scary. We got to be brave. We got to be in the unknown. But we're spiritually mature and powerful and courageous enough to do just that, to be willing to speak the truth in our lives, to be willing to speak the truth to ourselves and to live up to it, to be willing, even in a world that sometimes appears like it is falling apart, to hold its wholeness in our heart and to be a presence for its continued as a society. The world's usually doing pretty good on its own. For all of us people to uplift and live a life with heart and spiritual courage. So let's move into prayer. If you so choose to join me this morning, I invite any of our practitioner prayer partners to stand as we uplift each and every one of ourselves in this community and each and every human being everywhere, recognizing that whether one is in a state of sorrow or suffering or upliftment and joy, that the same divinity is ever present and ever available. And so we can ask ourselves in this prayer today, what is the God that I am brave enough and willing enough to call forth in my life and for all people? Let us call forth a God of healing, a God of understanding, a God of making connections, a God that can indeed make a way out of no way. May we open our hearts this morning to that recognition that all is well truth is ever present, even when it seems like it's all messed up. We have that ability to call it forth, to know that even in chaos there is peace, that even in fear there is faith, that even in what may seem fractured there is divine connection. And this thing called our consciousness can bring forth this recognition in a way that can help us transcend the limiting, tired out thinking that isn't working anymore, and can transform us into being a presence for divine light, divine love, and divine well-being. May we embrace our own power in this moment, that power of the divine in us, calling to come forth to bless in new and profound ways. May we stand in the fire, knowing that divine transformation leads us through. And so it is. Amen.
And I'm not asking you for answers to all of these questions or words to ease my mind. I just need somebody to listen sometimes. I will pay you back in kind. Will you stand in the fire with me?
Beautiful, Barry. I was like, I'd love to just listen to that song every day for 30 days. And you know, Barry's pretty hip too. You're on Spotify. Did you know that?
I am.
Yes, and you're on, what are those round circular things? So you can get them in the bookstore?
CDs.
CDs.
Your grandparents used to get those. And they do make excellent coasters too, by the way.
That was good.
Once you're tired of the music.
Hey, everybody, as we're doing our offering, hey, come up here, young man. You're actually a year older than I am, I think. But I just want to take a moment as we move into our time of offering to honor this incredible production team that does so much for us. Most visibly, we have this guy, Rama Newton here, who leads it. We have our camera folks. We have this lighting, our switchers, all the people that make this service work. In particular, he celebrated 28 years of putting up with Mile High. No, working at Mile High. His name is Nathan Marshall. He's on our soundboard over there. Thank you, Nathan, for almost 3 decades of service. Thank you. And Ron was letting me know we had close to 600 people watching us live online, so we're so grateful that you're here with us today, and so grateful for so many of you who've served this church so long to make it what it is and make it the success that it is. I'm so grateful to you. And so as we move into our time of offering this morning, we so thank you for however you choose to give, whether it's a little cash in the plate or a text to give or going online, or I go through my bank bill pay and just send it in every week. However you give, just know that it's so appreciated. And I love this opportunity each week we have to just take our gifts literally or metaphorically and bless them all together as we say our offering affirmation. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is.
Walking on an old road, singing a new song, bouncing back and forth in time, and I'm trying just to hum along. While these mystical connections, they keep happening to me. I finally got the gates unlocked and I'm running free. Standing by the ancient shrine, looking up at a satellite, thinking back to another time, so strange, but it feels so right. I am not this little man, drifting on my own. A body wrapped around an ancient soul, headed home. And we are one ocean, the waves roll on and never stop. One ocean, and the ocean is in every drop, in every drop. The feeling doesn't go away. This joy we found is here to stay, and we're on our way to higher ground. We're really not so far apart. We're traveling from head to heart, and though the ways are many, it's just one destination. And we are one ocean, from the bottom to the top. One ocean, and the ocean is in every drop. One ocean, we are one ocean.
I'm proud to be a member here at Mile High Church for more than 10 years. I've dedicated so much of the past 10 years of my life to learning, studying, growing, and being active in classes, ultimately becoming a practitioner right here at Mile High. As a result of all of this work, I've had the power to bring into my life an amazing husband, a great career, and I'm so honored that we've chosen in our giving to give to the Mile High Church Foundation. We've brought you here to share with you a little bit of our quote here on the Mile High Foundation wall, because so many of us walk into this church and don't even realize the donations, the giving that has made it happen, and some of the inspiration that can be found here. The quote that we selected is, "Prepare yourself for all the best that life has to offer." We selected that quote because it represents all that we had to do in spiritual work and in learning to create a relationship together that we love so we can be lights out in the world.
When we reconnected several years ago, it started with Mile High Church. When we decided to plan for our legacy, we knew that this would be an integral part of continuing the work and extending our own personal touch to the foundation. So this was a no-brainer from our perspective, and we love this institution. We can't wait to see the great things that are going to come in the years to come and well beyond after we're gone.
So we want to invite you to join us in becoming Nautilus Society members, because the foundation matters now more than ever.
There is a table out in the lobby if you'd like more information about the Mile High Foundation. And if you are new to Mile High, welcome. If you would like some more information about us, please stop by the Welcome Center in the center of our lobby, or you can also pick up some material in our resource racks on your way out. Our prayer practitioners are out front here. If you would like to be supported in affirmative prayer after service, please stop by to see one of them. They would love to support you. You also may be able to submit a written prayer request in our lobby by the windows. I feel like not many people are listening to me. Dr. Barry, who do you have here?
This is what's called being upstaged. So this is the Mile High Youth Ministry here, and they're going to do some singing, and I hope that you'll join us here and sing and sign with them. You ready to go? All right, pay attention. Let's put our hearts together. Let's put our minds together. Let's bring this world together. See what we can do. Let's put our hearts together. Let's put our minds together. Let's bring this world together. See what we can do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Let's put our hearts together. Let's put our minds together. And let's bring this world together. See what we can do. Let's put our hearts together. Let's put our minds together. And let's bring this world together. See what we can do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. One more time. Let's put our hearts together. Let's put our minds together. And let's bring this world together. See what we can do. See what we can do. And let's see what we can do.
We are so grateful for all these children, teens, and young adults for coming in and inspiring us. And I'm so grateful. You couldn't have better volunteers and staff working with our kids to help create those environments for them to remember and practice the truth of who they are. They're just awesome. Hello. Hi. Thanks for coming out here. So good to have everyone here. Hey, Dr. Michelle, remind us what's going on after service today.
I didn't know where you were. You were like a disembodied voice from somewhere. Where did he go?
It's when it happens at the supermarket that it's going to be really weird for you.
Really. I just want to remind you all about this workshop we're doing today at 11:30 over in the community center about spiritual practice and having the discipline in your way of doing discipline. I have learned a lesson also from my colleagues, Reverends Kay and Linda. There will be snacks.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great workshop. Michelle Scavetta mentioned it, but again, our wonderful leaders of our Mile High Foundation are going to be at a table in the lobby. And next week, we're having a birthday party with cake. So that should bring a lot of people in. And some guy is here to help lead that party. He's speaking here next week. His name is Roger Teal. We're looking forward to having him speaking right here on Sunday. Lastly, we have this wonderful program called Wednesday Night Insight. We just had a couple great insights from Dr. Michelle. And this Wednesday, it airs at 7 p.m. Jackie Harris is sharing. You can watch them throughout the week. It's a great spiritual pick-me-up. It includes a wonderful practitioner prayer as well. So with that, I invite you to stand if you'd like as we say our benediction, opening up to that divine inspiration that reminds us that all is well in our soul. We take that awareness and weave it into every aspect of our lives. And so it is. Amen.